Ooh, now it's time for Microsoft. There's a link in the top right to my other E3 predictions if you missed those. If not, let's get into it. I am genuinely excited and nervous for Microsoft, and I don't even own an Xbox. However, you'd have to be utterly moronic to not understand a healthy and profitable Microsoft is good for the industry. It creates competition, and without competition, there's never any need to improve. And whilst on their back foot, Microsoft has been throwing haymakers. Backwards compatibility across 3 generations of hardware, as well as Xbox Game Pass, allowing the consumer access to a whole library of games, including brand new exclusives, and all for just $10 a month. But none of it seems to matter because Microsoft aren't putting any games out. Well, at least not any good ones. And considering Sony just put out God of War and Detroit Become Human with fucking Spider-Man coming in September, it's not looking good for them. With that said, let's get into what we can expect and what Microsoft needs to show off to start winning people over. Let's start with something obvious: Minecraft. Next! We can also expect to see the next entry in the biannual Forza Horizon series by Turn 10. I'm not a racing game fan, but I do get that these games really get some of you hot under the collar. It's all good as long as they don't bring another car onto the stage. The only way I'll allow another car is if Phil Spencer's driving it through the fucking wall. Something else that is somewhat predictable is Halo 6 and Gears 5. Halo 6 because it's been almost 3 years since Guardians, so we're due for a new one. Oh god. And we know Gears 5 will be there because Walmart can't keep his dick in his pants. Whilst Halo and Gears are big names for Microsoft, it's what everyone expects, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but I think just using those two as the big titles for E3 and for what's to come would be a major disappointment. I think people want a different kind of game. Maybe it's time to leave the Space Marines behind for a little while. Whilst we're on the subject of exclusives, shall we talk about Sea of Thieves? I honestly don't know what Rare and Microsoft were thinking when they pushed this one out. How can you playtest that game and come away with a positive assessment? It only took people hours to rip that thing apart when it was released, and I bet they playtested it for months. What a waste of ultimate potential. So what better way to get people back in your favour than by showing players what they can expect in the months to come on the biggest stage of the year? I think Rare will show off a preview of a massive update. It'll add a progression system, more ships, different mission structures, a whole bunch of stuff. And if this sounds a bit optimistic, that's because it is. I think if they show off anything less than amazing, people will probably see it as a failure. But hey, if No Man's Sky can crawl its way back to an almost positive public opinion, anything is possible. Another worrisome exclusive is Crackdown 3. What the fuck is going on with that game? Did you know that it was announced back at E3 of 2014? And now there's talks of another delay. It's pretty clear to me that Crackdown was never meant to be a big AAA exclusive, but Microsoft are desperate at the moment, so they're just throwing money at it until it becomes one. From what we've seen, it looks decidedly unremarkable. Don't get me wrong though, if it turns out to be great, that's awesome. I'd never wish for a game to be bad. I mean, why would you? There's no point to it. But it seems like Microsoft might just be prolonging the inevitable. Not even Terry Crews can save this one. God, I love Terry Crews. Let's take a break from the big exclusives for a minute and focus on a smaller, more indie-like title. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. People absolutely loved Ori and the Blind Forest, so this will be a nice addition to the show. And Moon Studios would have been working on it for over 3 years at this point, so you should expect a release date. I don't have an exact prediction for that, but I would think the sooner the better, considering this year is already pretty packed. I presume that indie games will have another big showing this year. Hopefully we finally get a release date for Below, because I've been waiting idly for years for that game, and maybe we'll get an update for The Last Night, because that shit looks cool. I know that one of the developers of the game had a bit of a controversy surrounding him last year. Apparently he had a bit of a hard-on for Gamergate or something. What the fuck is Gamergate? Another indie title I hope we get a glimpse of is whatever Playdead is working on. I absolutely love Limbo and Inside, especially Inside, and I cannot wait to see what they're cooking up. Seriously, if you haven't played these games, get on it. And is anyone else surprised that Microsoft haven't bought these guys yet? Speaking of studios Microsoft should have bought, damn I'm good at segues. Remedy Entertainment. They're said to be working on a brand new IP that isn't exclusive to the Xbox, and it's being published by 505 Games. I think it'll be shown off on Microsoft's stage rather than Sony's, simply because of the history and the fact that their name actually means something to Xbox fans. Although, having a new publisher could signal a move to where the money is, so who knows. There'll be a few quickfire trailers as well. I think one will be the Avengers project, which would be a massive win for Microsoft, especially if it turns out to be an MMO like I think. Multiplayer games just seem to be more popular amongst Xbox gamers. However, I am basing that off of zero data other than my personal experiences, and I know that my small data sample is hardly indicative of the larger consumer base, so please feel free to tell me why I'm wrong. Also, after the trailer, Phil will tell everyone to tune in to Square's show for a gameplay demo. It's a good way to get everyone hyped up, and it's also pretty good promo for Square's conference. I bet a lot of people don't even know that they're having one this year. The second trailer will be Borderlands 3. It's been unofficially confirmed for so long. Just release it so it can finally die in peace. Now don't get me wrong, I love Borderlands 1 and 2, but there is no need for another one, since the second one was so damn good and it already had enough DLC to be considered its own game anyway. And lastly, there'll be another trailer for Metro Exodus, and this time it will be actual gameplay rather than this weird CG simulated gameplay, which is something you don't see very often. It's usually unabashedly a CG trailer or just gameplay. It's just a weird way to go about it. There'll be a bit of a slowdown. Phil will probably pop back out to announce an update to Game Pass, you know, more games and stuff, and also for the backwards compatibility library, you know, more games and stuff. And perhaps another businessy type announcement. But then we'll jump right back into it to close the show with 2 or 3 more games. First of the 3, Cyberpunk 2077. It is all but confirmed at this point that it will actually be there, and I bet we'll get a gameplay trailer but not a demo. No more than 5 minutes long, and it will have a 2019 release date. I think it might still be a little bit early in CD Projekt Red's dev cycle to show a significant portion of the game, especially considering what the dev cycle for Witcher 3 was like. Just tease us now, and blow us all away with a gameplay reveal next year when you're ready to release the game. The next one is a bit up in the air for me. Capcom is said to be working on a new action-adventure IP that may not be available on PlayStation. Although it's also likely that this may just be a mistake, as it's listed to be in development for PC, Switch, and Xbox One. I know this isn't much to go on, but I thought whatever it is, it's likely to show up here, since the Resident Evil 2 remake will probably be on Sony's stage. It just means Capcom doesn't have to have all their eggs in one basket. And finally, to close the show, Fable is back. Lionhead may be dead, but Playgrounds is said to be working on the new Fable game. And given that Microsoft is in dire need of some actual exclusive surprises, this would be a good way to show that they are serious about providing a variety in exclusives, at least until they reveal an actually new IP. That about wraps Microsoft. This is by far the most excited I have ever been for their conference, and I know I talked about a lot, so I expect most of it won't even happen. Although, it is supposed to be 2 hours long. I just think Microsoft has a lot to prove now, so they'll want to show as many meaningful games as possible, rather than just showing as many games as possible like they did last year. You might have showed off 40 plus games, but it doesn't matter if none of them mean anything. The only one left now is Sony, and no, I'm not doing predictions for the PC conference.
And I am pretty cool, right?
I'd rather die.